From 2022 Clear Conference down here in Orlando, Florida. I've got the pleasure of actually doing a little bit of an interview with both the public and private sector. I've got John, Jeremy, and Mike here. Mike is law enforcement, and you gentlemen are in the private sector working for a major corporation doing organized retail crime investigations. Mike, I got to start with you as a law enforcement officer. Talk to me about, just the intricacies of working with the private sector.
Well, a lot of it is communication to kind of bridge that gap of having successful prosecution between the law enforcement aspect and the information provided by the retailers. So definitely I would have to say the communication and the information sharing is definitely utmost importance to the success.
You've been doing property crime investigations for quite some time now.
Yes.
First introduction to a private sector investigator. What was that experience like for you?
It was definitely an eye-opener to the information that they rely on and the information that they definitely focus on their aspect compared to what I need for successful prosecution.
Right, and the information and the way they deliver that information to you, we always try in the private sector to put a bow on it for you, right?
Correct, and a lot of times it is. The video's ready to go, the witness statements, everything that's needed for my aspect of the investigation is usually provided, organized, good to go. If I do need something additional, they're always very helpful in getting that and in a timely manner to make sure the investigation continues.
Not your first time at Clear for any of you, right? How important is that networking piece with law enforcement, Jeremy?
Premier conference throughout the industry. The communication, the collaboration, the friends you meet, the connections is paramount to anything.
Absolutely.
Without that, we're not successful in bringing that theft mitigation to our stores.
Right. And building those relationships with law enforcement like Mike, just being able to collaborate and train together at a conference like this, really important.
Extremely important. We would not be successful without our law enforcement partners.
Absolutely. John, this is not your first conference either. You've been coming for a couple of years.
I have approximately 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a long time.
It is.
You're just shy of me.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the sessions today, the education you've received, and your team being able to collaborate with law enforcement agencies around the country as well as other retailers, right?
Yep. So each year, retailers have new investigators. They add them, new departments. The retailers bring them in, and new in law enforcement detectives, property crime detectives, the ORC units that are growing, and the newly instilled from law enforcement, working with the retailers. This is the best conference to collaborate and to get to know them because there's a lot of change. Over 2-3 years, you could have an investigator or a property crime detective that is new or switched out or go to a new role, and this conference is key to being able to connect and collaborate.
Right. And, what are your recommendations as far as getting, other law enforcement officers here, getting other investigators that are new to ORC? I mean, what's your recommendations around, getting educated and getting that training?
Communication with your law enforcement, the private, public sector, just getting out there, getting the word. It's like proof is in the pudding. Talk to these guys, see what they do, see how we work. The way we work together, it really helps us as a company, and it also helps that community that they're working in, because these people just aren't preying on our stores, they're preying on their communities.
Yeah, Mike, some of the things that have been talked about by senior leaders that were attendees of this conference this year on the public sector side, the one thing I heard was the resounding, I need to get you guys out to my patrol and get to a roll call to provide some training for that front line officer who's going to be engaged in interacting with those individuals. And it may not be as a result of a shoplifting incident, right? Mm-hmm. It could just be, they're pulling the car over for a traffic stop, and all of a sudden we've got this evidence. How important is it for your retail partners to provide that education to those patrol officers so they have the insights and knowledge and understanding of, hey, listen, this may just be a traffic stop right now, but it could blossom into something so much more?
No, absolutely. The education is huge because, in our role, usually we're getting the case after the initial report was taken. So we're relying on what the road patrol officer's initial report is compared to what the asset protection had provided, so on and so forth. But in your day-to-day patrol, and the documentation, of course, is the utmost important. And when you go back to the traffic stop, yeah, they could have pulled that car over for a random traffic violation or whatever the case may be. But there are signs, just like any other crime, there are signs that may not mean anything to, let's say, the uneducated eye in the sense of ORC, but the education is key because these little things could lead you to a bigger picture, or they could be, like we had mentioned, very high-profile targets that you just didn't realize.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
It's much like our stores. We teach, train, coach our colleagues on what to do.
Right.
We need to do the same with law enforcement.
Right.
We need to get out there, be in the forefront, teach, train, and coach them on the signs to look for and how to report them properly.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, not your first time to clear. We going to see you next year?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
I look forward to seeing you all. We've been talking about it all week, family reunion-wise. I mean, it's great seeing you all again. As always, hope to see you throughout the year if we can, but I look forward to seeing you next year for sure.
Definitely.
Good seeing you. Thanks
Good
for
to see you,
joining
John.
me,
Thanks,
guys.
sir.
And then
Really
one-
appreciate it.
One other thing, if you
Yeah,
don't mind,
go.
definitely
Absolutely.
the much thank you to our command staff and the law enforcement
Absolutely.
side
Yeah.
for allowing us to attend these conferences and continue our education to help
Right.
better our investigations and obviously the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Mad props to them. I mean, think about it. Your senior leaders, your executives in the private corporations, as well as your command staff, allowing you to come. In the early days, I can tell you that it's like, well, what is this clear thing all about? What are you guys doing down there? And then bringing those senior leaders to the conference so they can see really what happens. Well, this isn't a joke. This is real.
And the
There's
command
700
staff.
people here that know how real this is and how important it is to be here, especially during a hurricane. So that's how important these conferences are. Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. I appreciate that.
Huge.
So, guys, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, it's JC coming at you live, 2022 clear down here in Orlando, Florida. Hurricane Nicole did not shut us down. We are still going. Stay tuned for more great content.